So we do a lot of those sources as a way to just provide information. But that's a one-way spigot, so to speak, in most cases. So we also look at other ways to engage, and one of the things that we've got on, well, that's supposed to be a link, so hang on. So I'll go to our website. So I wanted to just kind of show, and maybe I can just do it here because Neva's going to show you on the website itself, is we're driven by Google, so there's a big search bar up there. Not everything can fit on a home page, right? So not everything is going to be immediately accessible. It doesn't mean it's not there, and usually a Google search can help provide that. 66% of our residents say that our website is their #1 source of information, 66%. So we invest in that highly. We are really pleased as long as our funding goes. So it is a platform, Microsoft platform, called SharePoint that was actually never really intended to be an external site. And I can tell you that we've got some pretty fabulous people who have made this website do things that even SharePoint didn't know SharePoint could do. And so it is transitioning. We are actually going to lose that platform at the end of, I think, 2021. So we are transitioning onto a much more robust website platform called Craft. It is also open source that will enable a whole lot more connectivity and interactivity than SharePoint does. SharePoint just does not allow it. It will have things like being able to subscribe to a page. So imagine if you want to know when a meeting is, or if there's an opportunity that's coming up. We have a lot of people who want to do business with the city. When is a contract coming up? Instead of having you to constantly check back on a particular page, you just go once and say, let me know when this page changes, and I can get that alert. So those would be one of the things that we would want it to do. It would have much more transactional capability. So that we are starting to do some of the preliminary work on now. And after the fiscal year, we'll be doing that in a much bigger way. So that's probably one of the biggest tools that we have. It is a place where you will find under the video tab, for example, our streaming video. So you don't have to go to social media to get it. The meetings that we stream are now streamed live here. We also have our video library and then links to all the other ones. So if you don't see a video there, it's because it's stored on YouTube and there will be a link there and you can get it. So that's one of the things that we do to try to make the information as accessible to you as possible. So that's under that category of brochures and pamphlets and speeches and all of those kinds of things. That second category, we start to get a little bit more interactive, and that's where a lot of the surveys go. Diana said, I apologize, I'm standing right in your way. Diana said, not everybody was invited to the community conversation. That's true, but we also had a survey that we put out there. We use publicinput.com, and it is a terrific platform for us. It is mobile friendly, and in just a week we had 2,200 people who participated in that survey. So it was a great way to reinforce a lot of the conversation that took place in that room. We have used it a lot. We are one of the cities that I'm actually pretty proud. We have better participation in Virginia Beach on our surveys than most of the other cities. As an example, I would tell you Charlotte's on it, Raleigh's on it, Austin is on it, and our numbers blow them away. So we are really pleased. Public Input uses us as an example all the time for the ways that we can use the tool and engage people, and they're willing to work with us to make it better. So we have the opportunity to use that, and you'll see that coming more and more as we use the tool. The referendums, the public hearings, all of those are part of that consult category. But you also have the two other categories. We're going to engage people, and that's really where we're moving. So with your help, with some of the outreach that we do, we're looking to continue to provide those ways that we can not just inform and not just maybe consult, but really move up the spectrum of participation into engagement and collaboration. How do we actually end up being able to work better together, and what are some of those things that we do? So this is our publicinput.com website. You can go to it. Here is our hub. I will show it to you. We've had, just in the time we've been going, over 20,000 participants who've provided 10,000 comments and almost 275,000 responses. So we've really had a pretty robust participation in our public input site. I wonder if it'll go. The connections in here is a little slow, but maybe not. If it decides to pop up, I'll go there.
They said sometimes it's slow because you're competing with everybody for Wi-Fi here.
Yeah, not surprising. Oh, is that it? It's taking all the, it's taking it all. Hey, yes, ma'am.
Will they ever put the beacon advertisements or information on this? Because I don't get the beacon, and I'm always looking for things that they can put in the beacon, notice in the beacon. That's the famous thing that they say, and I'm like, who gets the beacon? I mean, the subscription rates are so low now. It seems to me, couldn't they do it on the website?
Could you write that on one of those cards?
Oh,
because that's because that's actually most of them are the legal ads, quite frankly, and they're either and most of them go through the clerk's office. But I can provide that to the clerk and put that on. That should be a very easy fix for us.
You could just do both. If you still love the beacon that much and want to support the beacon, great. But I just, anytime.
Well, that's a legal requirement for us to
Right.
advertise in the newspaper of record. So there are legal requirements that where certain things are. But I'd be glad to pass that along. That should be an easy fix for us.
Okay.
So those kinds of things, I'm happy to take all those kinds of comments. The easy fix things, those would be great. You can just focus on those for tonight.
No offshore drilling.
No offshore drilling, not my thing yet. So the engaging, the more interactive, collaborative part of what we're doing is really where we're trying to focus a lot of our energy. And it's on those charrettes and the workshops, which unfortunately don't really lend themselves to good streaming. So one of the things that we're looking to do, we did it with a couple of the other opportunities, is if we have a workshop, is there an alternative way that we can also provide a method to stream it? So if somebody can't come or is unable, their schedule doesn't allow, that there would yet be another opportunity for somebody to participate. So if we put these together, and that's really where we're getting a more robust opportunity to have information combined with some of these other categories. So it isn't just a one-shot deal. We're going to inform, we're going to provide an opportunity for a survey, we're going to hold a charrette, and ultimately we're going to make some decisions. And that's where we're moving, is trying to put all of these things together. Our social media category is probably one of the biggest that we have, but this is where we engage a lot of people. Councilman Rouse has his meeting Monday night at Bow Creek Rec Center, so in the neighborhood, and he's got a really neat new for us, way he's going to set it up. So we'll see if it works. But he's using panel discussions. So instead of one question and he's going to field it, and then 5 people get to take questions, he's really tried to create a different way of putting the meeting together. So we are continually trying to reinvent the methods that we use in order to engage as many people as possible. Ignite is the small business workshop. That's the one that Councilwoman Wooten hosted last weekend, or 2 weeks ago at TCC, at the ATC, we're on the TCC campus, and it was crappy weather. Remember, two Saturdays ago, and it's a free event, and it started at 8:30. And so we had, I think, about 300 people who decided that they were going to come, at least on the front end, and we had about 70. And I think it is easy to go, gosh, it seemed like a good idea at the time when I said, yes, I want to come. And then, 7 o'clock rolls around and it's rainy and cold. So, but the people who came had really great things to say about it. She's going to do another one on June 22nd. And it is a way for us to really focus on developing the small businesses and entrepreneurs. And it's something that's a real passion for her to do. So we've got a lot of those kinds of things going on. Many of you are active on our social media. I'm sorry, Mr. Greenman.
I was able to pull it up on my phone while we were talking. And what's the process by which you conduct these surveys and determine what it is you're going to ask? I'm looking at everything that's listed here, but I don't see anything in here at all that has to do with citizen-led initiatives. I mean, talking about the Dome site, the Vibe District, resort area parking, Atlantic Avenue off parking, entertainment district. But how do we go about saying, I would like an issue put up on about reducing your stormwater fees, or getting our neighborhoods, streets clean, and how do we engage you so we can use the tool we're paying for you to get input from the rest of the community about things that matter to us?
Well, I would argue that the things that we're asking about actually matter to you as well, I would hope. And there are actually a number of citizen-led activities. For example, the parking on Atlantic Avenue was completely citizen-led. It was completely designed to facilitate that, and we had a lot of feedback. So the town center parking is the same way. You have a lot of residents and the businesses there. So if you have suggestions for surveys, we'd be happy to take those, but those were part of it.
Is there a process, how do you choose these items to be what you're gonna engage the public on? What process is that?
There are major initiatives, and we're asked to develop to get community input, so it's just major initiative. They come from a variety of people. They come from the departments, they come from the elected officials, they come from the manager, so it really just depends on what the initiative is and what people are looking for.
So there's no process, or there's no way that we can, so there's no formal process. City manager tells you he'd like you to do this, you
Sure.
guys go do it.
Sure.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, how do we do that?
Well, why don't you write me and say, I'd like a survey on this. But I will tell you what we try to do is try to make them as encompassing as possible too. So we don't take anybody's survey, you might have heard, I have a PhD. So one of the things that I work on is survey design. It was one of the things, research design and method. So we'll put out a survey that actually has some reliability and validity to it, so that when it comes back, we have an ability to present the data in a way that will maximize the information that you've got. So if you have an idea for a survey you'd like us to put out, happy to take it.
Okay, that's the process. Okay, so there's no government.
If you're looking for something a little bit more formal or process than that, I'm sorry, that's not kind of how we're working it right now. We are taking people's opportunities, and if we can do it, we will.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, no, I'm just asking, there's no formal policy, or there's no.
There is not yet.
Okay, so the agreement to do it, or the agreement not to do it is just a decision that's made on what criteria?
On whether or not it will either respond to or advance an issue that the city's working on.
Interesting, okay, thank you.
And I think one of the things I like about this, and it's certainly, there is a link from our website. The website itself, as I might have mentioned, has some limitations to it. The platform does now. It doesn't allow that survey on the site, but we link to it there, and then you can pull them up as was just done. You can pull it up on your phone. And so you don't have to sit at your computer. Actually, more and more people don't even have like a computer anymore. So the phone base really has worked really well for us. I will tell you that we have had more participation using this tool than we did our previous tool, which was the virtual town hall. Some of you might remember that. You had to be at a computer, you had to register, and it just wasn't as open and friendly as this one is. We've gotten really good participation. Yes, ma'am?
Are the results of your surveys made public on that site?
Yes. Yes.
How does somebody find out that you're having a survey?
We
Is there a notification process?
So we do news releases, we release them through our social media, we put it out on the city manager's update on city page, so we try to include it in all the different measures that we get. And clear, I mean, we had 7,300, our highest one was 7,300 people participating in one of the surveys. Like I said, we had the survey open for a week and we had 2,200 on this one. So there is a way to do that. When we get the new website, there will be a way to subscribe when there is a new one. But if you also go to the publicinput.com website itself and you put your email address in there, anytime there is a new survey, you will automatically get notified. You don't have to fill it out if you don't want to, but you can get notified, and I promise you we will not spam you on anything else other than if there's a survey there, we will alert you to it. Yes, sir.
Can you do a search on the city websites for just put in surveys and have it come up with all the surveys that are active?
So not on not on vdgov.com, but if you'll go to so let me go back.
Yeah, it's a different URL.
It is. It's a third-party platform, and when we get to when we get to pull up DBGov for what Neva is gonna show you, I'll just show you where it is on the page and you'll be able to go right to it. It's right at the bottom of the homepage.
Great.
Social, I want to just touch because it is probably one of the things that is extraordinarily time consuming for us on my staff, but it is also one of the best ways that we have to reach people. And just to give you a feel, how many people do you think we have on our Facebook page?
City of Virginia Beach?
Following. 20? Yep.
75,000.
Oh, bless your heart. Sam would go there.
35,000.
36,000 Facebook. How many on Twitter? Rona, now you can say 75,000.
75,000.
There you go, yes. So 36 on, 75,000 on Twitter. How many on Nextdoor? 103,000 and 78,000 verified households. So if you think of that, how many of you are on Nextdoor by any chance? See, just so you use you as an example, right? So it has a lot of penetration for it. Yes, ma'am.
We've been told that Nextdoor is not a city-run site.
Well, it's not a city-run site any more than Facebook or Twitter or anything else, but it's a platform that we use.
Oh, you use the platform,
Yeah.
it's not your platform.
Well,
Oh,
Facebook
okay.
isn't either.
Nextdoor's an
Sadly, otherwise I would
But
be
your
so wealthy,
Facebook
I
page
would
is
not be
yours.
put up today.
Your Facebook page is yours, though.
But Nextdoor, so what Nextdoor allows us to do though as an entity is allows us to provide information to you. What Nextdoor does not allow, so that and you may know this, what they don't allow is for us to look into your neighborhood and learn from Alan Perry and the police department or Con and Fire. So you've heard probably from 3 or 4 departments about information about the city. Melissa Zabutis in the Volunteer Resources Office is one of the administrators on Nextdoor on the city side. Somebody in my office on it as well. So what we really try to do is provide the different information on those platforms. But 103,000 on Nextdoor and 8,000 are verified households in Virginia Beach. And I think we have 181,000 households. So not bad in terms of getting that kind of coverage. We have 7 sites altogether that my office manages, and it's Lippert. If you're into the photographs, we are at 5 million views, which is really pretty terrific. We have a terrific talented photographer who puts a lot of his stuff there. We are on Instagram. Probably a show of hands. Instagram? So,
Yes.
Bless you. Okay. So we realize that not everybody's on every tool, right? And so we have to do as many things as possible. And that's our challenge is if you're on Facebook, but you're on Instagram, well, how do we make sure that we're reaching everybody or people will go to Twitter and our page? So we do all of those in order to try to reach as many people as possible. Yes, ma'am.
Why do you like Instagram? I don't know anything about it, I've just heard it.
Why do you like Instagram?
My daughter's on it, and I follow my daughter, and I follow some various websites for dogs and just news and golf. You know, it's really easy to tailor it. I hadn't thought about following DBGov on it. I might have to look at that, but
Some great stuff you're missing.
well, I get it on Facebook, and I used to get Twitter.
It's different.
It is
Isn't it?
what's different?
So, so, Bridget, tell them, what's, Facebook to Instagram, help Martha
What's
with-
different?
What's different?
Facebook,
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say Instagram, I don't really use it, but, it's very picture-based and like just, a lot of interaction goes based on pictures. So, I mean, unless I'm doing it wrong, I don't know.
No, and it has a lot of breaking news. If you follow any news sites, usually when something happens, it's there.
And video, so if you get to a certain, threshold, which we have too, and Instagram has evolved a lot, they actually have IGTV as well, so.
Right.
So where you think people are, sadly, what's one of the main things that people don't do much anymore? Read. Read. I'll give you an example. I was sitting at a workshop, and the table was right in front, right underneath the sign that said where different things were, including the restrooms. And to a person, everybody who walked by asked me where the restroom was. And I'm like, I mean, literally, it's like right here. But, so imagine when you're talking about it, every platform speaks to a lot of different demographics. Instagram tends to skew young. It tends to be much more image-based, right? But not exclusively. We use it a lot to highlight different things around Virginia Beach, but we also use it to almost like posters. So you can put posters on there and information, and it's events and locations, and we can now do video because we have enough numbers on there. So all that to say is there isn't a one-size-fits-all for us. I started in this business when there was like, 2 newspapers, the talk radio station, and 3, TV stations, and that was it. And I had to use them to reach you. That was all I had. And so now what we're investing in are more of those direct communications between you and your government. That's what you should have, especially at the local government level. It's something that we really believe in and are trying to build. So those are some of the things that you've got. So you've got this building process of all the different things that we can do and all the different methods that we can use to interact, try to do more than one thing, because you just highlighted our challenge. Well, I'm not on Instagram. Well, imagine if that's the only place we put it. Or Facebook, and somebody else isn't on Facebook, or Twitter. I'm not on Twitter fan. So all of the things that you have to do, we almost have to say we have to do it all. And it takes a lot of investment and a lot of coordination to make sure that we get those right. Yes,
What
sir?
about for people who don't have internet or device? How do you engage with them? Like the older one?
On them, we tend to rely still on traditional media. I will tell you that on balance, I think we have some of the highest internet penetration of any community in the country. It is close to 90% or 92% the last time I saw it. So it is pretty strong. The challenge that we have in this kind of day and age generally is print. The ability to get it out there in any way that would demonstrate it. So that's why we still do rely on traditional media.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So on publicinput.com for Virginia Beach, you ran a survey on using the Francis Land House to focus on World War II events, which I'm actually very interested in that. And the survey was run and it was closed. And all the results of all the sub-questions of the survey are on the event. But the results of the actual survey of do you support this or do not are not on the website. So why would that be? Why are the results of the actual do you want to do this or not posted?
Because you're wondering,
Yeah, the question, do you support?
but the results are here. That's what was gathered.
The question asks you yes or no, it's closed.
Correct.
But the results of that question aren't posted anywhere, which is the main question. Do you support taking the Francis Land House and using it for a World War II museum? That question. The sub-questions are, if it is a World War II museum, are you interested in stories about soldiers? Are you interested?
Those are here too.
Right.
So you see
But the results are only on
9,
those,
the
not on the
6.
top question. The primary question isn't
Can
posted.
I'll take a look at it for you on my
Okay.
phone, because it might be easier for me to see.
Do you support the temporary exhibition? Yes or no? Closed for, but no results for that question. But the results of all the sub-questions,
But-
yes. It's
So-
just a curious thing.
Yeah, so it's the comments that were in that question there too.
But-
And then you
but
get to show the 139 more comments that are right there, so if you hit
But-
that, you can do it.
Where are, how many people said they?
How about if I take a look at it after this?
All right.
Would that be great? Okay.
Sure.
Yep, because I'm gonna cut into Neva's time. Just a minute.
Are the, like, notices that are in the beacon, are those, are there mailing lists that can be joined to get those notices?
It is a fine question. I will tag it to her and put it all together, because apparently that one's a big thing. Happy to do it. Happy to do it, yeah. What other questions do you have for me? I'm gonna turn it over to Neva, because it's another big area where there's a rich amount of information that you may not be aware of, and we wanna make sure that it gets out there for you. Yes?
Are you responsible for the VB TV?
I am.
City council meetings?
Yes. She said, yes.
Are you watching us?
Yes. Yes, it is some of the best reality TV on television, isn't it?
That's Virginia
Y'all
Beach.
are, yeah.
That's Virginia Beach turns.
Now, can you at least give us some credit for finally going HD? Now, I will tell you, Facebook has not played well with going HD with us, and we are working on that problem because we get it, huh?
It's blurry, when we watch the informals, it's very blurry.
On Facebook, but please, please, please go and we even, I get you wanna interact on Facebook and I see that. That's a lot of fun. But please go, yeah. I have to tell you, one of my favorite moments, earlier on, I've been here 4 years and early on, one of my favorite moments, we had just started streaming it and was just maybe a month in, and somebody said, I just tuned in, what did I miss? And I loved, that was such a great comment. I mean, who says that about a city council meeting? But please go to vbgov.com and look at the stream because it is HD and it's not, number one, it's not blurry and you can actually see what's on the screen. So it really is terrific. All of the equipment in there was, most of it was original to the building or was really, I mean, on its last legs. It is equipment that we can take with us, so you know it's not lost. But
Can you improve on the visuals? Like somebody has a chart on the.
that's what I mean. That's the HD. That's like you can see people's pores. You know, it's on VB.gov on the stream, and we are working with Facebook to see if they would take our HD stream. They just have not worked well with our equipment yet. Is probably the best way I can tell you. But we are streaming it, and as soon as they will take it, you'll also see it there. But
We'll say
we're making
shout out to Julie next time.
Really quickly, on Instagram, it's City of Virginia Beach. So if you're gonna follow them on Instagram, there's over 6,000 followers. City of Virginia Beach. If you go to VB.gov, you'll get some Middle Eastern website. So go with the City of Virginia
Yeah,
Beach.
and LinkedIn too is another site that we're continuing to build. I think we're almost at 10,000 on LinkedIn, and that's really where we're looking to do a lot of recruiting for people. So for those of you who are looking for a job or have kids or grandkids who are looking for a job, we are really using that for a lot of our recruiting efforts. What else can I answer before I turn you over to Neva?
I
Yeah.
have a question, is this yours? Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall gave it to me, so I just saw it this morning, and it's difficult for me to understand what's what, there's no key for the graph. So it's like when I was reading through it, I don't know, I should probably read it more in depth.
See, and there's that whole reading thing, I guess.
Well, I was reading it, I was reading it.
We should do an infographic show, don't you think?
I mean, just having like a key that kind of helped know what the color did.
She shared that with me, and I said, "What kind of key?" So she said she would send me exactly what she needs.
Okay,
So
all right.
feel free.
Well, it was just hard because it says like 305, but I don't know what that is. Is that 305 million, 305 billion, 305,000? It wasn't. I don't know.
But you want us to be clear. Totally get it. Yep. That makes sense.
It's not at the top of the column, it's where it used to be, it shows it.
So the nice thing is, it is a digital document. It is available online. I can make those changes and read it up.
Right.
So it is. So that's easy enough to do. So if you have any of that kind of feedback, we're happy to.
I do have a question about that. This is a little bit confusing, and if you try to find out what is the total debt, including VRS. I don't see anything on there about VRS. But what is the total debt of the city in billions? Looking out the future, that was one of the big things that I ran on 4 years ago, as Rosemary Wilson was, the debt that had been incurred and the future debt that we have down the road. What is that, and where can I find it in this document?
So let me be clear about the document. Okay. So it's finance content and our design material, all those kinds of things. So the clarity part, I can do that. So I can take that back and share that and have that included. I don't have that information.
It's really on page 11, guys. The numbers are slightly smaller than what's to the CAFR because maybe some of the categories are not included, but it does show, thankfully, that there was a net decrease of 61.9 million in the bottom lower left box. You see that change?
And it's gonna change all the time. I mean, the quarterly briefings that the finance director does will show that changes.
And you'll update that as that changes, I assume.
So that's an annual, that was the annual year, but we also have the interim, things that we can do. And one of the things that Rona's been good enough to point out for me and that we can keep going, is to produce kind of things in smaller chunks, right? We tend to do like, oh, you know, we were pretty proud, we got it down to 18 pages. To our, you know, to her point, not all of it's financial information. And we tend to like to put things in context, right? And see what you're talking about when you're talking about what are those numbers in relation to the size of our city, to the services that we provide, to what we do. So we try to put things in perspective as much as we can, but please, your feedback on this is the first time we've done a PACR, which is a certain category that the general finance officer does produce. Yeah.
Other cities do it. I mean, it's just really great that we have it now.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's about 400 pages less than the CAFR. So I kind of missed those 400 pages.
But you can read them still. It's a, you know, something you're able to do. Yes, sir. Right.
Yes, I have a question. You're evidently the viaduct from the community to the city manager and his staff.
I've not been called that before.
Well, it goes back to Roman times, but it doesn't infer that you were there. My question.
That's really hard. So we're off to such a good start.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Marsh told me to use that as an intro. My question for you is, when you're talking about the blurriness and the clarity, the resolution of the cameras, it seems that after the council adjourns on the first Tuesday of the month, not only does the resolution go away, but also the cameras go black. Would you like to explain that? Of course, it's above your pay grade, but do you have any insight?
Yeah, that's been a practice since before I got here.
Okay.
That it is, so what they have done is, and we've done it in the other city that I worked in as well, is the opportunity to have that citizen comment is the opportunity for people to talk to their board. And it isn't necessarily something that anybody, I think early on, wanted televised because they were going to be talking about issues that were either sensitive or important, and that was personally. So that was why that they were wanting to do it for their board and not necessarily have it on television. So I know there's some interest in it, and there are some people who don't want it, and we have the cameras and the crew there, so whatever the decision is that's made, we're happy to do it either way.
Well, fortunately, from
We could do a survey.
yeah, do a survey. Fortunately for the grassroots government watchdogs like this group here, we now have Facebook Live, so the citizens could go there. In fact, when they shut the cameras off, begin Facebook Living all the proceedings at that point. So
Still
that's
requires cameras.
no
He's got a camera right there.
cameras right here. We're live right now.
Yeah.
So
Talking about the board meetings that are fed through the city, TV.
no, when they shut the cameras off during the first Tuesday of the month, there's no broadcast of what you're saying.
It's control feed.
Well, it's just shut off. Yeah, yeah. So we would have to use our Facebook Live. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Might turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you all for inviting us here today. As again, my hour and a half biography, which I realize I need to update, and make shorter. My name is Neva White. I've actually worked for the city of Virginia Beach since 2002, but I have only been in the position that I am in almost exactly a year. I started the 29th of March of 2018. My office is the Strategy, Transparency, Innovation, and Resiliency Office. If you see anything with us, we normally just call ourselves STIR. So we have several initiatives that my office takes care of. As far as community engagement goes, my office both trains and usually provides the facilitators and reporters if you have group tables. So we actually send them through training on exactly that. How do you get a group of people to engage civilly? How do you make sure that the quiet people at the table get heard? How do you make sure that the people that are kind of taking over the conversation can be a little quieter? We want to make sure that when we have those, that everybody at the table's voice gets heard. So that's basically my office's role. I sometimes, when you do those community engagement meetings, will make some suggestions on questions that can be asked. But normally what I do is I make the suggestions, Julie makes some suggestions, council people make some suggestions, and then we all get together to decide what the final questions will be. I also, my office, what I thought I would give an introduction to you on, for those who might not be aware.
Can you show that? Yeah, so all she did was scroll down.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
you'll see.
So
across
when
the
you
bottom.
go to vbgov.com, if you just scroll down to the bottom, the publicinput.com is there. Property search is there that gives you assessment value, city map is there, but what I'm going to show you is our open data portal. My office is one of, we're going to cross.
How many of you have used the open data portal? See, I know you would. I don't think that's it.
I build these things.
You build it for a living?
I build these type of things.
Isn't the budget on here, the online budget? Is on?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, right, I missed that.
Oh, but no, you haven't. I mean, you have, but you've only.
Yeah, just a little, yes, scrumptious.
Surveys, in fact, actually, most of the surveys that we have done are open to everyone, but there's interest if you're in that particular geography, right? There are certainly people who will care a whole lot more about the parking in a particular area than some people who never go there. So there's a natural inclination to have those, to have some broader interest. But I will also tell you that we use the tool in a very targeted way as well. And let me give you an example. In the Foxfire neighborhood, which is not far from us, we had a potential for an environmental issue nearby and wanted to check whether or not people still had wells. And if they had wells, did they use them for drinking water? What did they use? And then could we test them and all that? So we were able to do a focused kind of geo-fence around that neighborhood so that we can collect the data easily from them. So it really does have some utility in that way.
Well, I meant in a broader sense, if you were gonna talk about an initiative, just say like light rail, and you're gonna talk about something like that, that type of a thing, do you say, well, we don't think we hear enough from this particular voice in the community, so we're gonna notify those organizations and let them know about this so that they go and provide input to us on this. Do you have a process like that?
We tend to use as many of our tools as possible as opposed to the targeting. And one of them does include the mailings to the civic leagues, for example. But would I only go to one civic league because it might be there? No, I would tend to grab them all. We try to be as inclusive as possible to make as many people aware of the issues because it's an entire community.
So an organization like the Virginia Beach Tea Party, if we wanted to be included in these types of things, just like the Chamber of Commerce, how would we go about applying to make sure that we're always notified as an organization about these kinds of things?
So if you'll go in and just put an email in, it will notify you every single time there's a survey.
Okay,
As easy as I can make it.
but people who don't put in emails also get notified by you if you're interested?
Correct.
Okay, how do we get to be one of those people?
Social media.
Never mind.
No, I get notifications on social media through VBGov.
Correct.
And I did a while ago request to get the weekly or the city manager's agenda, so I get that. I mean, you just do the email, and that really works really, really well if you give them the email address. So I get a lot of stuff that way, and I try to post it.
Or just put an email in that's only for that, you know, so you don't have to give your regular one if you would rather not.
I was more for the organization than me. I'll go
Right, right.
subscribe to these. I was saying, if you're gonna reach out to the chamber or a North End Civic League, or you're gonna reach out to the Tidewater Builders Association, we would like to also be one of those people you consider reaching out to on a regular basis to get our input on
Are you
these
not
issues.
on our distribution list already?
That wasn't what I was saying. When you go out to engage, we would like to be considered by you as someone to continue to engage. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so, I got it to pop up. So, all right, so vbgov.com, as you saw, just scroll down to the bottom, you click on there. So the Open VB data portal is basically the central place where we publish as much of the data as for the city as possible. My department is one of the departments that is the main component of this data portal. So that would be my department. Management Services publishes a lot of the budgeting data. They also publish the performance measures for the city. The Finance Department publishes some of the spending for the city. And then, of course, the IT department, which really helps us run the portal. Just like publicinput.com, currently our data portal is on a third-party site called Socrata. However, we have a new chief data officer, and he's moving to a more open source for that. So it will look slightly different in the future. You'll be happy to know it will be a lot cheaper when he does that. But this is really the place where you can get any kind of data that you would like to see. One of the ways that you can actually engage on this site is you can suggest a data set. So as you're looking at the data, you can actually say, hey, I don't see this data on there, so could you tell us this? So there are a few that are open right now, and they look like they've been open for a long time. I actually checked on this today and said, why are those open? No, we have those two data sets, so those were both data sets for fire calls. So that's a hinky thing that's going on right now. They should be closed because the data sets are there. So you can suggest, you have the little, right here, you can press that and you can just say, hey, I would like to see. And you'll either get an answer back that says, oh, we have that already, here it is, or we'll take that under consideration. It's very rare for us to say, no, we're not going to publish that if we've got the data. That's normally the only reason we would do that. So the various sites that we have here, there is actually a place for those who aren't really too comfortable with doing things like this. There's actually tutorials on there that will tell you how to search within a data set. It'll tell you how to filter, how to create a chart. So that's really great for people who don't have a lot of experience with data. It gives you a little tutorial to learn how to do that.
Do other cities use this too, that you can look at
Yes,
other cities? And
yes, they do. Quite a few cities use Socrata as they're really
There's something of a competition, quite honestly,
Yeah.
between cities on how many data sets they can get out there.
Yeah, there is. What we like to, and I actually had said to Julie, because I'm only going to be able to just kind of slightly show you, I'd love to come back and give you a more advanced presentation on it with the person who actually knows what he's talking about as far as the IT, because please don't ask me that question, I don't know. So one of the, I think you had said you're a developer, you use this stuff all the time. So there is a place for citizens, because all this data is open, they can take our data and create something brand new. So for example, we have a citizen who is with Code for Hampton Roads, who took our open data and created his own application called Spot Facts. And basically that you can put in an address and it'll tell you how long the response time is for EMS. It'll tell you property values, things like that. And he created that using our open data portal.
Brilliant. It is.
So one portion of this is open performance. Oh, we're now doing that. And the performance part is put in there by the Budget and Management Services Office. And they have to hand load those things in. So one of the things we're working on, so for example, open performance could be departmental wide. It might be how many circulations the library department has had in the past year. None of that is automated, so that's one of the things we're working on, because we know we can load things faster for the citizens if it's coming out of a database and it doesn't need to be hand loaded in there. So basically, it's created to find easy ways for some of the performance of the community, and those are basically the various ways that we have. So if I look at world-class schools, for example, we're really close crossing our fingers here. You'll be able to see employment opportunities, so I'll click on that. And it'll tell you the current unemployment rate. Tells you when it was last measured. And you can click on it and it'll show you a chart for that as well.
I think it's actually even lower than that now.
Yes, I think it is actually.
How often is that updated?
Whenever they can.
Yeah, basically whenever you can. Some of our data is uploaded, like a lot of our police data, fire data, that's uploaded almost every day actually. But some of it has to be loaded in by hand. Right now, as you can imagine, the Budget and Management Services Department is a little busy because it's budget season. So nothing tends to get updated right now because they're working on that document. Yes, ma'am.
A few years ago, there was a big drive to get the speed limit on Shore Drive reduced to 35 miles an hour from 45 because of traffic accidents and deaths. I worked on that and lobbied for that, and I hunted in text to find the number of traffic accidents over the course of time. Would that kind of data be on here?
Yes.
And have it to be able to compare between now and then when the speed limit was 45?
So, for example, let me look and go. Let me try that one again. That one seems to be. So, if you go to, actually, it would probably be in Safest City. No, that's not what we do. So, let me just go back.
Like police reports?
Police reports, fire, things like that are in there. So if I click on, oh,
Scroll down to the main site. Yeah.
there we go. So like you can see police incident reports there.
Like, can you narrow it down to Shore Drive? And, I mean, I'm just generally asking, I don't want you to have to belabor this sheet.
Yeah, so police calls for services in there, data sets like that. So I'm not sure if you can
But you
download
can,
that.
yeah, but you can check because, so one of the things that this will provide is what the different columns are that you'll get in the data set and how often it's updated. Some
Yes.
are updated all the time, some are weekly, some are monthly, it just depends on the data.
Can you go back
itself.
history?
Yes, it has gone back and picked up history too, I can tell you that.
Right. So as you can see, like there's various little data sets, police calls for service, employee salaries, so you can click on that and go down as well.
Our most popular one is, you just passed it, right?
Yeah, police incident reports is usually
And the
the
restaurant
most,
ratings.
and the restaurant ratings are the two that are the most popular. Don't
So, you
don't
know.
look at your favorite restaurant. Don't ruin it for
If you
yourself.
have your favorite restaurant, you don't want to put them.
The site also has our open budget site on here as well. Julie earlier was saying that it's almost a competition for data. The how you engage with the community about the budget is also. I noticed that one of our neighboring cities is having a March Madness bracket. This or this, this or this. So this is the gateway that can connect you to the operating budget. And you can explore this. So if I click on the, for example, the expenditure budget, it then breaks things down by category. So if I go, I'll use something that so quality education and lifelong learning. You can keep scrolling down. I can go to the library department. You can keep scrolling down. I can go to the joint use library. You can scroll down and keep scrolling down so that basically you can see, okay, the joint use library, which is just one division, has spent this much in personal services, which are salaries, fringe benefits, contractual services is really large there because we pay a certain amount of money to the college. Other charges, and most of those other charges are things like office supplies, pens, things like that. But you can keep scrolling down in each of these categories so that you can see exactly what that money is being spent on.
Is there a way to see how much interest we're paying to town bank?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
I'm not sure we're actually paying anything.
It's bond interest, guys. It's the bond market. It's not really town bank.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, so there's an expenditures, open data portal too, and you can find who we're doing business with.
We also have on this site basically a portal that's called Balancing Act. It tells you where the money goes, basically, and if you're a person who likes to tells you where each category is, where the spending goes, what the revenue that goes into that. And you can use this to say, I'd like to spend less in this category or more in this category, but your budget has to be balanced. So if you say, I don't want to spend that, I don't want to spend money on that, or if you say, we want this to be, tax to be less, then you also have to cut something on the right side. And then you can submit that for your ideas to be heard on that.
Does it show actual interest, in all seriousness, what we're paying to service our
Yeah,
debt?
I've never seen that number.
That-
When we issued the
all
bond
it
debt,
is.
and we issued it over 25 years, what's the total amount? Like on the convention center, $209 million, but amortized over that 25 years, was that total $350 million? We never see those.
Nobody
numbers.
ever shows us that.
Let me just interject here that Julie has made great strides with the website. It is far improved. And on Alice Kelly's page is a chart that is the bond interest. It is in the lower corner. If you go to VBGov, finance, debt, in the lower corner, I can show it to you here on my phone tonight. It's got 10 years. Yeah, it's got 10 years worth of the bond debt interest service, and it's right now right around 56 million a year. It's gone up from 138 million.
No, that wasn't what I was saying. We advertise, it's like buying a house.
Right.
They tell us that we paid $209 million for the convention center, but after we take the loan out in order to issue the bond debt, over the
Right.
life of that loan,
They don't
what
tell
did
us
we
that.
actually pay for that? We never hear that number.
No,
and
I
it's
don't
staggering.
think, they don't put it back to each project, but they
Right.
tell us in total what our debt service is.
But in fairness, it probably actually we can probably get that for you because it has to be in the ordinance and the original, all the documentation.
Yeah.
Is there one place where that is? I don't know. Happy to find out for you though.
No, that would be
I thought you
helpful.
told me.
Huh?
Yes,
Yes,
I'm ready to
so,
go.
all right.
You need another car.
Oh, no cars?
Darn, I got some more. I got one of those.
His car is the one that I get back.
With lots of really itty bitty types.
So one of the new sites that's available is, I'm having an interesting thing happen, because like, I'm clicking on it, and it comes up on this blue, and then it's going away, so it doesn't give me the button to click on it. So know that when you go to it, the blue button should stay there for you. I can't get it to do it, but it's actually a site called Open Spending. So not only is the site showing the budget information that comes from Budget and Management Services, we recently opened open spending as well. So essentially, we've told you what we're gonna spend it on, and you can go to open spending to see how we actually spent it.
Almost like an online checkbook.
Almost like an open, yes, exactly like an online checkbook.
Okay.
So that information comes from the finance department and gets updated quarterly. And I don't know, it's an interesting thing that's happening.
And the care, just so you know, because I'm on the open data board, and we look at all of the data sets that come forward, and the criteria, because we've had great debates, is like, God, who would want to see this data? It doesn't matter. That's not for us to say, right? That it is the point of just making all of that as accessible as possible. And so one of the discussions about the spending is we want to make sure that some of the information is protected. I will give you the best example I can. Confidential informants. The last thing we wanted to do was put that information out there. So there is that level of detail that you really have to scrub the data and make sure that we are providing you with as much as we can, but also complying with things like the law and protecting the information that we, by law, need to protect. And that's the care that goes into selecting the data sets. Thank you.
Yes?
There's a lot of people right now that are concerned over what the stormwater fee is spent on.
Yeah.
And whether or not the money that they've been taxed for their stormwater fee is actually going to the stormwater projects. Do you have a data set that I can help point them to so they can look at that?
That open spending site that I just mentioned, that, again, it's not coming up. Okay. That site, let me kind of just show, let me just click on it to show you where it's will be.
There's a 47-page document on that.
Right. When the city auditor.
So it's in this, it's in that bar, it's in that bar right there, I don't know why it keeps disappearing. That basically tells you how we spent our money.
Okay, so I could go through that, drill through that, and find a link that I could just quickly share with someone?
You can drill down on that, just like I just drilled down on the other side, you can drill down on that.
What she's trying to say though, and they did this, Lyndon Ramus did an audit on the stormwater, but he really only picked a 3-year window and studied 1 year. He didn't do it for the life of the program, right? But part of that audit revealed that the money isn't actually tracked from the stormwater fee back to the actual expense. It's not tracked that way, so there wasn't any way in the system to actually produce that number. The money went into different accounts, was sort of allocated across in a broader category, but you couldn't actually prove that the stormwater fee actually went for stormwater stuff because it was never tracked as a line item in that way. That's what Virginia's talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean, people are
Stormwater
concerned over
fees
that.
have been collected over $1 billion in stormwater fees. That's a fee, not a tax. When you take that fee and put it in a different account other than the stormwater account, that's fraud. And the city is in bad context of being major felony fraud of $1 billion.
Well, isn't it possible to track all the stormwater expenditures?
It is.
And
Yeah,
so
people
whether
say
it
so.
goes into some other fund and moves around and comes back to where it goes.
It's a
So
scam.
what you need to know is what is being spent on stormwater.
It's not funny.
The stormwater,
It's not true.
in the CIP, they issue bonds for major projects. So the funding for those bonds in the CRP is different than the stormwater fee that you pay. So if you've got a stormwater project and it's funded by bonds, it didn't mean a dime from the stormwater fee went to that. But where did the stormwater money go? Well, they don't track it the way Virginia's asked because nobody asked them to do that. That's the problem. It would be impossible to go back and do that
Well,
now.
part of the
They do that
stormwater
on
money
purpose.
goes to salaries and people in the stormwater department.
Well,
You gotta realize one of the biggest line items in any budget is the salary and benefits.
Right.
So I think what you're trying to understand is actually what hits the maintenance or what actually hits the rubber meets the road, type thing.
Well, what I'm trying to figure out how to do is very simply explain to people, let's say our city council goes crazy this year and increases our stormwater fee, okay? I want people to understand what that increase would go to. I want them to see the benefit of the fee from 2017 that was increased, how can we simply show that to them? Most people are not gonna go through something like this and drill down a billion times to find something like that. They want just the very simple, this is it, you know? And how can we provide that to them if it exists, you know? Because it is complicated, and I understand that about salaries, and I know that some of the increase was for certain positions that never got to develop because we didn't have the increase last year as well. So it's, you know, it's a complicated system, you know, on how that fee is spent, but how can we simply give that to people who aren't the Rana Marshes of the world, you know? I mean, how can we help?
Could you let Ms. White
So, so that's what I'm trying to find out.
I see what you're saying. The hope is that the open spending will really show you how we're spending our money. It'll give you we said we were gonna spend $20 million on stormwater, we spent this much on stormwater. So hopefully that'll be a good way for you to do that.
I'm looking forward to playing around with it.
And
I wish I could show it to you.
I'll just tag on though. So Tony does, I think, a quarterly update for council all the time, and her presentations are pretty robust and actually go through every single project in its category and does the summaries there. But take a look at, if you're able to find it there versus that, and if you're not quite finding something as succinct as what you're looking for, let me know, because I think it's something that we can probably work on and make it a little bit more accessible. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to come tonight, is to be able to address those kinds of issues.
And you could also just click on that suggested data set too and type in. And
There's a huge disconnect between what the public is being taxed for and them understanding what it's being spent for.
Right.
And I think that it's important to connect that in some way.
Okay.
I have a question about city council votes. Have you made it easier to track past votes by council members? I've always found it difficult to go back and try to find out who voted.
Can you write that?
Have you gone to the EDOC? So there is a repository of all those, and every single council action is categorized. So you should be able to search that. So if you go to the city council, page, on the right-hand side, there is an e-documents link, and it will take you into the entire repository. You'll find past agendas, you'll find all of the minutes, you'll find the votes. Oh my goodness, it goes back far. Yeah, it goes back far.
Really?
Yeah, yes, yes. And afterward, I'm happy to stay as long as you want. I can show you things on there. I know that there's a lot of information that is there that you maybe are not familiar with, but once you know it's there, then it'll be a great tool for you. So I'm happy to show it to you.
So is that the rest, is
That's
that all of your
it for me.
presentation?
And,
Thank you,
again,
Neva.
I can always come back with the people that are actually some of the owners of some of that data to be able to do a deeper presentation for you.
Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for our